In the serene heart of a hidden lake, nestled between whispering trees, there lived a small duckling with feathers as golden as the first rays of dawn. His eyes were as bright and curious as polished amber, always quick to notice the smallest wonders around him. The soft lapping of water against the shore, the dragonfly's dance above the lilies, the gentle sway of reeds in the breeze, nothing escaped his attentive gaze. He was just a little duckling, full of life and curiosity, yet he carried a peculiar habit, a secret known only to him. He kept everything he experienced, every happy moment, every fleeting emotion, every precious memory. When joy touched his heart, such as playing with his paddling mates in the crystal-clear waters, or listening to his mother's enchanting stories about the world beyond the lake, he would gather a smooth, flat stone from the sandy shore and carefully place it in a small linen sack tied to his back. When sadness touched his heart, such as when the bigger ducklings pushed him aside or when harsh words were spoken, he would take a stone, sometimes heavier, and add it to his sack. At first, this habit did not seem out of the ordinary. The sack was light and almost always empty. He felt proud of his growing collection of memories. Each little stone was like a tiny story, a moment in time that he refused to forget. He believed that forgetting something was like erasing part of himself. But as days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the sack grew heavier. The duckling was still young, his body sleek and strong, but he was starting to feel the weight of his habit. Swimming across the lake was not as easy as it once was. Short flights became tiring, and his carefree spirit seemed to dim a little. While his paddling mates swam freely, chasing each other and diving for aquatic delights, he lagged behind, his movements becoming slower, his steps heavier. At first, no one really noticed. They were young and full of their own adventures. But as the seasons turned and the leaves began to paint the forest in hues of gold and red, people began to ask questions. Why are you so slow? Why don't you come play with us? The duckling would smile, trying to hide the truth, but deep down he knew. His past was weighing him down too much. One crisp autumn afternoon, after watching the others play from afar, the duckling walked away and sat alone under a large oak tree with leaves the color of burnished copper. He looked out over the lake, its surface now mirroring the colors of the trees, and sighed heavily. His back hurt, his wings ached. He closed his eyes and thought, why do I keep all this? Why do I feel like I cannot let go? Am I afraid of forgetting who I am? Just then, a great horned owl, its feathers as dark as the October sky, perched on a nearby branch. It stared at the duckling with its large, luminous eyes. After a moment of silence, it spoke in a deep, resonant voice. Little one, why do you look so troubled when your life has only just begun? The duckling hesitated, then with tears welling up in his eyes, finally answered. I carry within me everything I have lived, he said, pointing to the sack on his back. My joys, but also my sorrows, every word, every gesture. I'm afraid to let go because I think without these memories, I stop being myself. The owl tilted its head, considering the duckling's words. Then it spread its wings, vast and silent against the darkening sky, and said softly, Memories are important, little one, but you are turning them into chains. They should be like stars in the night sky, shining from afar to guide you, not stones weighing down your body. If you insist on carrying every stone from yesterday, you will never have the strength to walk into tomorrow. The duckling looked at the owl, trying to understand. But I need them. I need my memories to be me. You do not forget when you let go, the owl replied gently. You simply stop suffering under their weight. Memories do not live in the burden. They live in the heart. Some things should remain as lessons, but never as chains. If yesterday becomes a prison, then it is no longer memory. It is captivity. The duckling pondered the owl's words, looking at the sack on his back. He saw that it was filled to the brim. Some stones were small and smooth, tied to happy moments, but most were heavy and rough, tied to pain and suffering. He sighed. Perhaps it was time for him to try something new. That night, under the silvery glow of the full moon, the duckling summoned his courage. He reached for the heaviest stone in the sack, the one that represented the memory of rejection, and threw it into the lake. It sank slowly, disappearing into the dark water. For the first time in a long while, he felt his body become a bit lighter, his breathing a bit easier. Then he reached for another stone, the one tied to the harsh words he had once heard, and let it go. With each stone that fell into the lake, his heart seemed to breathe a little more freely. He continued throughout the night, choosing which memories were light and which were chains. By the time the first rays of dawn touched the horizon, only a few stones remained in his sack, the ones tied to laughter, to love, and to the valuable lessons that had made him stronger. These he kept, not as weight, but as treasures that illuminated his path. As the sun rose higher in the sky, painting the world in hues of rose and gold, the duckling swam across the lake with a newfound lightness. The water seemed clearer, the sky brighter, the breeze warmer. When he spread his wings, he could fly higher and further than he had ever done before, feeling free as the wind. From that day on, the duckling carried only the light stones, the ones that brought joy and strength. He learned to swim faster, to fly higher, to live more fully, and whenever he felt the weight of the past pulling him down, he remembered the words of the owl and let go. And you, how many stones are you still carrying on your back? How many could you have already let sink into the waters of life? Share in the comments, what memory do you need to release to feel lighter? If this story touched your heart, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still needs to learn that the past must be remembered but never carried. For forgetting is not always an erasure. Sometimes it is a liberation.